What's up everybody, I'm Kirk, and yep, today we're talking about Harry Potter. I'm sure a few of you are surprised the guy who won't shut up about retro shooters is suddenly talking about the boy who lived, but I have some good reasons. The first one being that I am a Harry Potter fan, lifelong at this point. Like many in my generation, I grew up with the books, saw all the movies, I've even been lucky enough to check out the theme park a few times. And while in recent years I can't say I was thrilled with the Fantastic Beasts movies or the author turfing about on Twitter, it hasn't changed my fondness for the franchise, as it is one of the foundations of my nerddom. The other thing too is that with the recent buzz on Hogwarts Legacy, it got me thinking back to the old Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone game that I enjoyed when I was a kid. More specifically, the PC version of the game, which happens to be one of the earliest games built in the Unreal Engine. Ho-ho! I sense I've grabbed the attention of a few of you. So for today's video, I'm going to be getting nostalgic and seeing if there's any magic left in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. It's gonna be fun. But before all that, if you're new here and you find yourself digging what you're seeing, please consider liking and subscribing to help support this channel. Alrighty, wands at the ready, swish and flick. Kirk Collects is now a proud affiliate of GOG.com. GOG has a huge selection of DRM-free games, modern titles, as well as retro classics. If you're looking to add some titles to your collection, then be sure to use my affiliate link down in the description. It will help this channel out and get you some good old games. Alrighty, let's get back to the show. Harry Potter's first foray into gaming was published by Electronic Arts and originally released on November 16th, 2001, to coincide with the release of the first movie. Naturally, both the movie and game were based on the first book of the series, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, or Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone to everyone else outside of the United States. The game was released on a slew of systems, PlayStation, Game Boy Color and Advance, and of course PC, with different developers tackling each version. A few years later, in 2003, there was a new version of the game developed by Wild Hog Games for 6th generation consoles, which drew heavily from the Chamber of Secrets and Prisoner of Azkaban games. Two titles I adored when I was younger. Basically Zelda knockoffs, but you got to fully explore Hogwarts and the grounds. It was awesome. While no version was a critical success, the game unsurprisingly sold well, kicking off the Harry Potter gaming franchise that would see adaptations for every subsequent film, a slew of spin-off games, and of course the upcoming Hogwarts Legacy, which I'm hoping will be Harry Potter's Knights of the Old Republic, but I am bracing myself for all possible outcomes. For Sorcerer's Stone, the version I'm actually more familiar with, and still own to this day, is the PlayStation version. That one was developed by Argonaut Games, who are best known for developing the original Star Fox, its long-delayed sequel, Alien Resurrection, and Croc. Yazoo! Their version is a beautiful disaster. One of those games that's so bad it's good. The kind of thing you throw on when you're having drinks with friends on a Saturday night and want to giggle at some unfortunate polygons. The PC version was developed by KnowWonder, who shortly after Harry Potter's release were rebranded to Amaze Entertainment. While I doubt either of its monikers are familiar to a lot of you, at one point Amaze was one of the largest independent game developers in the world, their bread and butter largely being licensed titles. Now, while most of my nostalgia is for the PS1 version, I did encounter the PC version when I was a kid, having played it at a friend's house who had it on their family computer. And I was pretty blown away by it. It looked and played so much better than the PS1 version, and it felt similar to another game me and my older brother were playing at the time, a little title called Max Payne. Remember, I was just a kid at the time who hadn't played a lot of third-person shooters, so for my young self, this might as well have been Harry Potter Max Payne. Anyways, over the years, that version of the game always stuck in my brain, and whenever the old Harry Potter game would randomly come up in conversation, leading to jokes about how janky it was, I'd always be the guy who'd go, "Yeah, but did you ever play it on the PC? It was different and way better."
The other students are off to the Halloween feast. Join them, if you must.
As I said in the intro, the PC version of Sorcerer's Stone was built using Unreal Engine 1, more specifically the version of the engine used for Unreal Tournament, and was within the first 20 commercially released games to use the engine. Which, when you consider the hundreds upon hundreds of games developed in Unreal across 4 generations of it, and the hundreds upon hundreds more to come in the future, being within the first 20 is pretty notable. Seems fitting that the upcoming Hogwarts Legacy will be using the Unreal Engine as well.
Although I do not approve of your chasing Malfoy about, I'll admit you have remarkable talent on a broomstick.
In general, getting Sorcerer's Stone to run on a modern machine wasn't too painful, and sites like the PC Gaming Wiki have all the resources to help you out. I should mention that I did install a few fan-made patches here to help things run more smoothly, like a high-definition texture pack that sharpens everything up. Looks pretty good, minus a few minor blemishes. I can't say I had the game running perfectly. There were graphical artifacts that popped up throughout. The audio had a nasty habit of popping and stuttering, and certain alpha textures would glitch out. Some of these I maybe could have fixed, but frankly they were minor issues and I plain don't care enough about this game to put in the effort. Unfortunately, getting your hands on this game is a little trickier. You won't find it on digital storefronts, and trying to find it physically in the wild means paying money that the game simply isn't worth. But fret not, the game can be easily found if you're not shy about sifting through abandonware sites or using other means. Yarg. For a 21-year-old game, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone doesn't look too bad. The interior areas have held up the best, and I think do a decent job of capturing Hogwarts Castle. The outdoor areas do leave something to be desired, although outdoor areas were pretty difficult for most games around this time. Environments have that signature Unreal Engine sheen to them. Engine traits like the multicolored lighting and reflections are apparent throughout. As a matter of fact, every surface in this game is reflective. I don't know if that was by design or a mistake in rendering on new hardware, but it does give the game a more attractive look, I do admit. Harry's character model still looks pretty good if you ask me, especially compared to his PS1 counterpart. Actually, all of the character models compared to that version are night and day, although the PC characters are still worth poking some fun at. PS1 Hagrid was the stuff of nightmares, but PC Hagrid looks like a depressed, possibly homicidal Jack Black. Malfoy looks like he just smelled a horrendous fart, which isn't too different from his movie counterpart. Crabbe looks like a demon. Ron looks like the Molly just kicked in. And Neville... well, actually, Neville looks like Neville. We did good on Neville.
You've got my remember all back. Thanks, Harry. I'll be able to find my toad now.
One particularly notable member of the dev team was the game's composer, Jeremy Soule, a very prolific composer in the games industry who has done the scores to games like Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, Warhammer Dawn of War, Dead Rising 2 and 3, Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, but the big one, of course, is... the Prey soundtrack. What'd you think I was talking about? Yeah man, Soule's soundtrack for the original version of Prey, so good. Boot that game up and tell me that menu music doesn't get you pumped. Jeremy Soule's score is alright. At best, it does complement the world of Harry Potter nicely, and there are some good tunes in there. At worst, it pretty much sounds like a knockoff of John Williams' score, which I suppose was the intention. Although why not just use that score to begin with, I can only speculate on.
Snape's been acting very suspicious lately. He may be planning to steal the Sorcerer's Stone.
But there's no way Snape would try anything while Dumbledore's around.
The game follows the story of the first novel, being a sort of Cliff Notes version of it, and I'm sure most of us here already know the story. Harry Potter is an orphan boy who learns he is a famous wizard for surviving the big bad Voldemort when he was just a baby. He's then invited to attend Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, where he befriends Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger, who both agree to help Harry take the One Ring into Mordor. When they reach the Black Gates, they run into the Architect, who gives Harry a choice. Harry wisely chooses the Cup of the Carpenter and brings the Grail back to his dying father. In Harry's anger, he beats the shit out of an office printer, which ultimately leads them into John Malkovich. And in the grand finale, Harry fights the Xenomorph Queen and nukes LV-426 from orbit. Yes, I'm sure we're all very familiar with Harry's first year at Hogwarts.
Gryffindor!
The game begins on Harry's first day of classes. After having a little chat with the headmaster, Sir Gandalf Picard, you go through a little tutorial of the basics with Fred and George, who are running some sort of black market jelly bean scam as they are constantly coming out of nowhere to ask you for them.
Do you have 25 beans for us? We need the beans for some experiments.
Yeah, guys, by all means, take my beans. Speaking of jelly beans, you collect them throughout the game, along with chocolate frogs to heal and stars to progress. You're also rewarded wizard cards that aren't good for anything other than looking at. Ooh, ah, wow. You earn most of these collectibles from performing spells and breaking stuff. That's pretty much what this game boils down to, really. Vandalism and eating candy. Oh yeah, parents were so up in arms around this time about violent video games affecting their kids, when clearly Harry Potter is directly responsible for a spike in obesity and misdemeanors. Jokes aside, Harry Potter is a pretty straightforward platformer. Lots of jumping and simple puzzles as you make your way through the wacky halls of Hogwarts. And the mechanics for jumping and spellcasting generally feel good and have held up pretty well.
I am Professor Quirrell. Today we'll learn how to protect ourselves against dark magic.
The structure of the game revolves around Harry attending classes, learning spells from professors like Yoda, not Voldemort, and Snape. Severus Snape. Dumbledore! And then using those spells and elaborate obstacle courses the professors have put together. Spells do a variety of things, like make things flip, float, and flame. Casting is a matter of pointing your wand by clicking down the left mouse button, and the game automatically casting whatever spell is needed. Definitely kid-proof in that regard. Learning the spells, though, is a nightmare, or maybe just a nightmare for me. It involves this minigame-ass minigame where you have to trace some symbol with the mouse in a short amount of time, and are graded on your accuracy, needing to hit a certain percentage to pass. You'd think a guy who plays so many damn first-person shooters would be good at this, but nope. Horrible. You have to complete them 4 freaking times in a row, and each time the accuracy goes up and the time goes down. And yeah, I failed at just about all of them.
That's a little wide of the mark, Mr. Potter.
Oh yeah, well you know what? You're a little wide on the mark, you frickin' mandrake. You don't even look like Professor Sprout. Get out of here. There's no real consequences to failing these. You just don't get as many house points. Oh yeah, just like in the books and movies, when you do good things, you get rewarded house points.
You collected all the challenge stars. 20 points for Gryffindor.
With the overall goal of having more points than the other houses at the end of the year. And they even show every house's progress in the pause menu. It's a fun detail for the kids, but not something that actually has any real impact on the game. Seeing as that at the end, Dumbledore will award your house all the points it needs to win, just like at the end of the book.
Hey Harry, have you collected 25 beans?
Yeah, guys, have more beans. Why not? An odd thing I noticed about this game is that Harry rarely talks. Side characters do all the heavy lifting of telling you what's going on, who's who, what to do. It's very much a Gordon Freeman type situation.
Hello, Harry, it's me, Hagrid. Good to see you. These are the Hogwarts Castle grounds, and I'm the gamekeeper, of course.
Although Harry does speak every once in a while to offer a hint.
That could come in handy if I have to distract Filch along the way.
And you'd think the devs would have done more of that since he is the main character and all, but whatever. Not that you need too many hints, as this game is mind-numbingly easy. Which, of course it is. It's a kid's game. But even for a kid's game, I think the devs underestimated what kids can actually handle. For example, there are several boss fights in the game against Peeves the Poltergeist and
In the dungeon! Troll in the dungeon!
Yeah, thanks, man. I'm sure you had nothing to do with it.
Thought you ought to know.
In these fights, your crosshair is automatically locked to your opponent, making it so the player doesn't have to worry about aiming, just maneuvering. I can understand making this kid-friendly, but I think a young person could have handled free aim in these sections. I do applaud it though for always having something for the player to do. Every room is brimming with interaction, which for a kid essentially playing pretend wizard is a pretty fun thing to see. Plus there's a ton of secrets. Lots of hidden rooms and hidden passageways, which makes sense because a big part of what makes Hogwarts so fun and cool are all of its secrets. They're all super easy to find, but hey, it's always fun to find secrets.
Have you collected 25 beans?
Dude, already? Do you want more than 25? I literally have hundreds. Breaking up the game are the Quiddich segments, where you have to fly through some hoops and bump into the snitch a whole bunch until you catch it.
He's getting closer. Stay on target. I've never seen such flying.
Yeah, Quidditch is bad. I have little to say on it other than the controls are shoddy and half the time I can hardly tell what's going on. And as soon as I have a grasp of it, it's over. Probably the worst aspect of the game next to this. In the latter half of the game, things start to shake up. There's a big Crash Bandicoot chase sequence from a troll who has a face that is so unsettling to me. Like, it's not ugly like a troll's, but at the same time, you wouldn't want to see a face like that anywhere near a playground.
This way, Harry.
Yeah, Ron, let's go down the hallway with all the death pits. Great thinking. I do like this little sequence though, mainly because I love Crash Bandicoot and this is in the ballpark of how well it plays in Crash. Now, if we only had a baby polar bear. After that, you do a big stealth sequence where you get to use Harry's invisibility cloak, which he has literally no ass in, and have to keep away from the patrolling Walter Frey. You've murdered my cat. It's a decent, if not tedious, stealth sequence for this sort of game. You have to make sure you walk on carpet so he doesn't hear you, and have to be wise with your spells because they reveal you. Although the AI for Filchy Frey is pretty tame and easy to distract.
Hey, Harry. Do you have 25 beans for us?
Yo, seriously, you two keep this up, one of you is getting blown up someday, I swear. After all that, the game fast-tracks you to the end, with a series of mini-games representing the traps and challenges guarding the Sorcerer's Stone. And they're all brain-dead simple to beat. I mean, yeah, once again, kids' game. You're not gonna make them go through a whole game of chess. But also, once again, I think they underestimated the challenge a kid can take. It all culminates in a one-on-one battle against Professor X, oh no, scratch that, Frank Langella, in a battle involving knocking pillars onto his head and shooting him through the mirror. I think. After the 5 minutes it takes to beat it, you're treated to the concluding cutscene and a fun and zany scene of Fred and George putting the beans they extorted from you to work. Ah! Mr. Takagi won't be joining us for the rest of his life! Ah! Yep. Harry Potter. I'd say this game is a fascinating curiosity in terms of the history of one of the biggest gaming engines out there, and a neat pop culture relic as it is one of the first video game tie-ins for one of the biggest media franchises on planet Earth. But once the entertainment of all that historical relevance wears off, what you're left with is a pretty mediocre video game. You jump, you click on things, and then it's over. It's not so much the experience of the first book or movie in video game form, but rather the shabby theme park ride version, put into video game form. I'm sure that doesn't come as much of a shock to many of you. Although, to be fair, as far as I can tell, it is the strongest of all the versions of Sorcerer's Stone. Still doesn't mean you should go out of your way to play it. But then again, a young kid might still get a kick out of it. Who knows? But that's all the wizarding I have in me today. What are your thoughts on Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone? And what are some of the games from your youth that you look fondly or not fondly on? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, please be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications on future uploads. It's a couple clicks for you and a massive help for this channel. Also, don't be shy, come say hi in the Kirk Collects Discord, linked below. And be sure to check out my affiliate links. I'm Kirk, and thank you for watching this video. Stay safe out there.